Go. All right, welcome to your third day of training. So today we have one class, group facilitation. And I know Renee and I are really excited about this just because we're going to front load with a lot of information, but you're going to have ample time to work on facilitating a group. For some of you, this may be something you do already. For some of you, this may be the first time. But the cool thing about our activity is that you get to create the group you facilitate, and you're actually going to practice with each other. So we're going to get to that, but we're going to go through a bunch of different exercises and an important task information. So to start off with, there was no pre-work for this, which I'm glad you're excited about that. One less thing to worry about. But you will need right now is a 3-slide handout presentation. I'll get to the other handouts in the morning, in a moment. Obviously, I'm still waking up as well. So the 3-slide handout that looks like this, it's entitled Group Facilitation. And then we'll talk about a little bit about why this is so important with us moving forward. But before we do so, actually, no, we'll do this. Let's get through that. So for today's learning objectives, we'll practice facilitating by giving instructions, deciding how to implement the activity for your group, keeping the focus, right, engagement, and managing any challenges that come, because challenges do come, right? They do arise. We deal with people. We will then talk about different types of roles that people play in groups and the signs of effective and ineffective groups as well, and learn the different types of activities that we can employ and the purpose and intention. And the idea here is to have fun, right? The idea is to enjoy. One of the things I met with one of your peers yesterday, and we had a great conversation. We're like, learning doesn't have to suck, right? Yes, we put in work, right? But we can enjoy it as well. And so that definitely encompasses all of us. So speaking of gathering guidelines, Renee, if you can bring them up, please. And then once Renee does that, I'm going to ask for, I believe, 4 volunteers to read each of the sections. If you can make them a little bit larger, Renee, please, and thank you. And if someone is willing to read the first section, show up and be present and just unmute yourself, that would be great. Please and
Show
thank you.
up,
Go
be
ahead.
present. Notice yourself, what you are thinking and feeling. Pay deep attention to what is happening around you and within you and around you. Extend honor and respect by being visible. Empower and inspire others by role modeling.
Gracias. Thank you, Eddie. May someone else step up and read Pay Attention to What Is Heart and Meaning, please, and thank you.
Listen from the heart with an appreciation for one another. Speak one at a time. Honor and value who is speaking. Please refrain from giving each other feedback unless it's requested. If you ask permission or it is explicitly part of the process. Pay attention to your attention. Notice what you're thinking when your mind wanders and what you do to bring yourself back.
Gracias, Tina. Can someone follow Tina's example and read Tell Your Truth Without Blame or Judgment, please?
Tell your truth without blame or judgment. A, speak from the heart. B, ask for clarification when needed. C, ask for what you need or want. D, choosing silence at the time is fine. E, deal with what's so as it happens. When something happens that impacts the whole, bring it forward to the group. F, keep yourself safe, whatever that means for you. G, take breaks as needed.
Carter, gracias. And last but not least, can someone please read Be Open and Unattached to Outcomes? The whole thing all the way to the bottom.
Be open and unattached to outcomes. A, trust the process. B, if emotions are activated, please allow each person to have their experience. If tears come, let the person have them. Please don't attempt to calm. Just listen. Additionally, we request that you make a commitment to confidentiality. Whatever is said in this room stays in this room. Show of hands.
Thank you. Pause. This is really important. Thank you, Jason. If you can also raise your hand as well. Sion, thank you. Okay. And thank you, hands down. Continue, Desiree.
Please honor one another and this process by keeping time agreements, especially start and end breaks.
Thank you so much for those of you that read for us to remind us. And we know once again, I was on mute.
I was
Thank you
trying
for
to hit enter the room.
thank you for reading and establishing kind of how we do things at CAPS. And today you'll see why this is so important, right? Sometimes like, oh, we've heard this already, Carlos. Like, yeah, that's the point. So it sticks a little, right? Something that we're going to try a little bit different. And this was actually Renee's idea. So I'm going to give her the shout out. What we've done for like the past year and a half, it's right, Renee, I think like cohorts have organically, one cohort started, they decided to name themselves. So instead of being the February 2026 AM cohort, which is what we call you logistically, they came up with their own names, right? And one of the ones that comes up to the just top of my head is one cohort voted on Hope Dealers. And then Renee, I don't know if you remember another one,
The
right?
bounce
And
back crew.
the bounce back crew. Yeah. And so since we're talking about
It
group
depends.
facilitations, it depends. Yeah, that's a good one. Start brainstorming. Before we leave today, I'll ask anyone who has any suggestions for your cohort names. We'll take a tally and then you all vote, and then we'll have you kind of use that name for yourselves. Okay. How does that sound? A little bit to build community right in there. So that's something that we definitely really want to embody and model. All right. So let's go back to the presentation. Thank you, Renee, for the gathering guidelines and for those of you who read. That part. Okay. Now, anybody unmute themselves? Who is this? Who is this person? Anybody
That's
know?
right. Ice Cube.
Ice Cube in the house, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes there's things that, they last and they endure, right? And so, for example, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. This is really important for groups too, right? Remembering what's the goal, right? To go in there and to make something happen. But you also need to remember that not everyone has that same type of mindset. And so making sure that we are all here for the same purpose is one of the reasons why we go through the gathering guidelines each day. Okay. May someone please unmute themselves and read the definition of what is a group, please?
What is a group? A group of people who frequently gather at a designated time and space, have a feeling of camaraderie, and come together to achieve a common set of goals.
Thank you so much. And then what I'm doing right now is I'm typing the same question, but I want to hear from you. So what does a group mean to you? And you can either unmute yourself or you can type it in the chat. So in your own words, when you think of a group, what comes to mind? Desiree, thank you. Somewhere to belong. Community. Connection. Definitely. Renee's big about that. A collection of minds, experiences, and truths. Definitely. Oh, now this waterfall's going. Excellent.
Yeah, I was gonna say a group of like-minded people.
Group of like-minded people. Thank you for that, Carter. Jasmine says a group of people who like to share mindsets, minded goals and ambitions. Matt, more than just myself. Yeah. Jason, common welfare. I think a team that has a common goal. Yep, we're getting there. Two or more people with a goal. Community. Excellent. So thank you for all of that, right? And so it's important to have our own, standard definitions, but then also to kind of think about, hey, what do I see this as, right? And so as you see on the picture on the right, a community does require collaboration, right? And a common purpose in your own way as well. All right. So types of groups, right? And this is something where I'm going to ask you again in the chat. And once again, share only whatever you feel it relates. And as I'm typing, the focus question is, which kind of groups have you participated in the past? So, and it doesn't have to be formal, it can be very basic. And then so feel free once again to either unmute yourself or write it in the chat. So Desiree says growth and self-development. Wellness, work, social, family, education, support, educational growth, church, school community. We're seeing the diversity here already. Thank you for that. Sports, parenting, family. Thank you, Yanni, for that. Activism, Victoria, thank you for that as well. Really important. Support, military, AA, rehab, mindfulness, I believe, church, congregation, workplace, financial literacy, right? Awesome. So these are all great examples of the different types of groups that we have, right? And so when we look at general categories, right, for groups, one of them can be more recreational to balance out life, right? So an activity, you may play soccer, you may knit, right? I know right now that this generation is saying that they're doing I think they're calling the granny activities or whatnot, which are things that have existed,
I'm
right?
offended. I'm offended. Sorry. I have
Renee,
one, the Long Beach Hookers at the Long Beach Senior Center. It's a bunch of ladies that do the what do you the
Michael's
crocheting?
laughing a little too hard, and so is
Don't trust me. When
Desiree.
I was introducing my member over there, we're all checking it out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Long Beach Hookers, what? All these little old ladies all laughing it up.
This is why I love Renee. She has the gems in there. So yes, that would be an example of a recreational group. Support groups, we've talked about this, anywhere from AA, mental behavioral health, educational, hence why we're all here as well, therapy, personal group, and then most importantly, to work on ourselves. So these are the different general categories. And then, right, we all understand that it serves a purpose, and then kind of how we Team Renee and how we use them for our own um, goals and development. All right. So, a facilitator, right? So, before we do this, let me see. Raise your hand if you've ever facilitated a group before. I'm just curious. So, I have Desiree, Renee, Carter. Oh, a lot of you. Okay, Victoria. Okay, all right. This is going to be interesting too, Marlon. Nice. Okay, cool. So most of you have. All right. So this is going to be more of a review, which is cool. It helps guide kind of where we're going with this. Uh, but when we talk about a facilitator, right, this is a person that's kind of the best way I can put it, that someone put it to me is that the facilitator is the weather in the room, right? And so if you come in and you're like, I'm late and I missed this and all of that, like the group will respond to that, right? And if you also come in, which is kind of like, hey, we're here for a group, you ready? They'll respond to that as well, right? So really understanding that you, as a facilitator, navigate kind of the energy, aka the weather. The other part of that is the facilitator helps guide people to go through the process of whatever you're trying to accomplish together, right? So with this information, with this wisdom, with this knowledge, right? And so I know the information here is kind of small, so I'll read it just to kind of make sure we're on the same page here. So the guide, a compass, right? Someone that kind of keeps us focused. And by the way, this is easier said than done. And Renee, Helen, and I always talk about this, right? We have you for a certain amount of time. Sometimes we have certain activities got to get done. Sometimes, like Mike is saying something really important, and I got to be like, "Hey, Mike, I apologize. I'm going to pause you here. Would you mind finishing putting that in the chat because we got to keep going, right?" And it's hard because sometimes you really want to hear, but then we'll be here all night, and I don't think you would like that either, right? So guiding kind of where we're going, definitely a bridge builder, helping people see the connections amongst themselves, especially in the beginning, right? Like, where are these? Like, when Renee talks about, hey, what's that hook? Man, that music, right? Right. And I'm not talking about the Long Beach hookers. That's my cheesy joke for the day. You can put it in the eval. Praiser. So this is someone where, and we practice this too, and it's not a false sense of praise. Like for example, when I thank you all for reading parts of the gathering guidelines, I'm genuine in there. Thank you for reading that. It's not like a false sense, but really just honoring the act that's being done, especially when people are participating. The taskmaster, this is where it becomes challenging, right? Because there are certain things that we need to do, and then there are certain things that keeps going. For example, time, right? One of the things that we try to do here is to make sure to honor your breaks, right? To have those 3 10-minute breaks. We do our best to start on time and end on time in the midst of everything that needs to get done. And that can be a challenge, but it does help when you communicate and let everybody know, like, hey, this is where we're at. And over time, it gets better as it gets a little more fluid. The motivator, someone seeking to inspire, right? To get like Carter or Carlos, like, hey, let's hear what you have to say. Or Eddie, what do you have to say? The clairvoyant. And so this is one that's a little more, this eye reminds me of Renee, right? But this having this idea of like seeing through. And even just what Renee did, she had a great example, which just was like, boom, I think this is good for it. And sometimes you do have to trust your gut instinct, right? And so being that clairvoyant, the peacemaker, right? This is the most challenging part, right? Virtual is one thing, in person is a whole other thing, but it can happen, right? And the idea is that we're not always going to agree on everything, but we can respect each other, hear each other out, and remember what our overall goal here is, right? Is to improve, to learn, and to grow. And lastly, but definitely not least, being an active listener, right? We all can tell whether someone cares or not by paying attention. And yeah, at times you're working on different things, but like I can tell if Jasmine's listening to me or not, or Trent, right? Or they can tell if I'm listening to them or not, right? And those little things, they happen because the only way that this functions right now is that one person is speaking and the rest of you are actively listening, right? And so that's the way it functions. Tagging you in, Renee. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that whole check yourself before you wreck yourself. True story. Please be mindful. I was at Telecare in Garden Grove in Orange County, and a clinical supervisor and a peer duked it out because they were arguing over who was going to facilitate what in front of the members, and it got gnarly. So check yourself before you wreck yourself. Just a little tip.
That's a
It
great
was pretty.
suggestion.
I couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe it. But anyway, I'm hoping that won't happen. But
Yeah.
it did.
Yeah. Renee, Helen, and I, and sometimes Georgie, we just meet up at the parking lot after at 1:15, and then we just duke it out there. Just kidding, psych. Just want to throw it out there. But yeah, it's really important. And it's an essential role. It does require a lot of effort and energy and practice, but it's one of those roles that definitely has the most impact for a group to be able to continue and meet its purpose. Okay. Everybody good so far? Thank you for that. Head nod. All right, some tasks. May someone please unmute themselves and read the tasks that facilitators entail.
Cultural building changes the energy of the group as needed, involves all members of the group, guides and maintains the focus of the group.
Thank you so much, Jazz. So in the gist, right, there was 8 other parts there, but the tasks in themselves are constantly building, right? And culture is one of those things that like we hear about it, right? But it's more than just food and song and dance, right? It's definitely getting to know the people in there, right? And then so as you can tell, Caps Academy has its own culture, right? Where it's like we're really about it. And the reason why we are the way we are is because we believe in it, and we also see that it works, right? It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and years have gone into the preparation for this training. And then, sometimes the energy will shift depending on what we're talking, right? And we'll get into next week in terms of self-disclosure, and that tends to be one of a very important topic in classes in our training, because this is when we talk about our lived experience and our journeys. That energy be very different than from today, which we're kind of just being more open-ended about group facilitation and participation. This one I want to talk about here, it's a real challenge to try to get everyone involved, especially when you're trying to learn people. So for Adriana, I'm trying to figure out, is she more introverted? Is she more extroverted? Right? Trying to see if like maybe Carlos maybe doesn't like to be called on because something happened and there's an activation there, right? Or there's maybe someone who does love to speak a lot and express themselves. And so how do we share the air, honor everyone's presence, and get people involved? And then obviously maintaining the idea here that what the group is all about and for. And let's keep going. All right. Can someone else please unmute themselves? Let's talk about the do's and the don'ts. Let's start with the do's, please. Can someone please read the information on the left?
Listen,
Example. Oh, go
go
ahead.
for it, Carter. You're good. You're good.
Sure.
Go ahead. I'll get the next one.
Example do's. Listen more than talk.
Carter's in here.
Oh, I'm on mute?
Mm-hmm. No.
No, you're good, Carter.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
I was about to say, how am I on mute? You said,
Go ahead, Carter.
Listen more than talk. Be flexible. Be a role model. Be self-aware. Pay attention to your triggers. Show up. Be prepared. And do I do the don'ts?
I'm going to ask you in a moment, Carter. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? No, go ahead. Just finish off. Do the don'ts.
Yeah. Example. Don'ts. Bring up something that embarrasses a group member. Share someone else's business or story without their permission. Dominate the group. Give advice. You're on mute.
Yes, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Thank you for that, Carter. This may seem self-explanatory, but in the heat of the moment, sometimes it can be challenging, right? But the idea is that if you watch this recording back and Carlos is talking for 75% of the time, I have not done my job as a facilitator. That's way too much talking. Like, believe it or not, I actually prefer to hear from all of you, right? But there are times when I need to talk. Flexibility, things happen, right? And we kind of have to pivot there. And you want to model how you respond. So obviously, for example, for me, my essential value is respect. Then I need to be able to model it and give it if I'm asking all of you to receive it. We're going to get into self-awareness and self-care later on in the training as well, but pay attention to your triggers, right? Your activators. And if you need a moment, let's say something happens and once again, Eddie says something and it activates me in the moment and I have to tap in with Renee and be like, hey, Renee, I need a second here. And that's really more important, right, than pretending it's not affecting me and having it come out in group and, potentially blow up. Preparation is key, once again, especially if you want to accomplish the task. Now, the don'ts also, right, seem pretty self-explanatory. It really comes down to confidentiality. That's a huge one, huge one, right? That's what we ask everyone to raise their hands. And also the idea of doing no harm. And we're seeking not to do any harm. And that's important too, because sometimes we do try to help, but we end up hurting if we don't know the situation or the person, or if we allow one person, for example, to dominate the conversation or the group or the energy, and the rest of the members kind of feel left out. Advice, once again, that's personal, right? We can provide information, suggestions. We can share part of our lived experience, but I would never tell Desiree, you know what you should do, Desiree, with that situation, right? Because at that point, right, I'm already dictating how she should go about it and not really honoring her humanity. Okay. All right. How does this all pretty self-explanatory? Okay. Thank you for bearing with the information. All right. Now, this is when content and process is a little bit different here. So content is actually the information that's being shared, right? Like we're talking about here. When we observe the group, it's what's being talked about, right? And so the actual information, the facts, how we go about that, right? So if you notice on the bottom, right, content is just kind of more of a circle. The process in itself, that's tells us more about how participants like yourselves are actually activating with the content. So for example, let's say I asked a question and I'm like, all right, can someone please respond to the question? And I just hear crickets and no one responds. That's either telling me A, people are not engaged, B, people didn't hear me, right? Or people are resisting the process because maybe they don't feel connected to what's happening and I need to check in. So being observant is really important, right? Not just active listening, but also looking at eye contact, body language, right? And you'll notice that sometimes, for example, if I notice that you're not feeling well, I might check in with you on a private message, right? And be like, hey, Dexter, how are you feeling today? I noticed you. Because these are the little things so people know that you actually care about how they're doing. And when we're observing a group, how communication is going, who is talking, how much in that sense. And so there are times when we want to hear from certain people. There's times we want to hear from everyone, right? There's times when we're just going to ask from one person. So content and process, content and process. So to talk about that, actually, this is what we're going to do. Let me pause it here. So we're going to go through a series of different activities to model what you could potentially be doing when you decide to facilitate your group. Okay. I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about because we're going to practice this together. And I may ask Renee to jump in if she feels inclined to do so. So we're going to do an activity together that's called turn your camera off. And so here are the instructions. Choose a facilitator, which is self-given there. Everyone except for the facilitator should turn their camera off the camera. The facilitator will then ask a series of questions one at a time. If a question applies to you, turn on your camera and you can share a brief comment about the experience. If it doesn't apply to you, keep your camera off. Turning on your camera first does not indicate that you are a winner. It's not a race. Rather, it allows you to discover how many shared experiences you have with others. Feel free to add additional questions until everyone has turned on their camera. If you complete early, encourage a member of your group to take the lead in the activity, and you can take part in it as well from other members. Remember, you're still the facilitator, so be sure to make sure things are entertaining and creative. Feel free to discuss topics as you go or once everyone has turned on their camera. So we're actually going to practice this right now. Renee, would you like to jump in or would you like me to do it? Yeah? Okay, cool. So I'm going to let Renee, I'm tagging Renee in.
I
She's
would
going to
love
give
to.
you the instruction. Awesome. She's going to give you the instructions and model it right now. and then we'll discuss after. All you, Renee, go ahead.
Okay, so everyone turn your cameras off. Okay, turn your camera on if you've met someone famous. Ooh, all right. All right, someone has to share. Shout out.
MC
Yeah.
Magic.
Who?
MC Magic. You
Uh-huh.
may not know him.
Oh, okay, no. So,
I met Sebastian Janikowski.
Nice.
I think
I
Mike
met
had his hand up.
I met Lenny Williams.
I grew up with a guy who became a kind of a rock star, the singer of the band Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder.
Yeah,
Ooh.
cool.
Yeah,
Very
I
cool.
met Duran Duran.
I love it.
Okay.
I've met a lot of celebrities. I
That's-
actually was in the entertainment field when I was younger, and believe it or not, when I was a kid, Snoop Dogg and my mom were like really close.
That's right.
And the dude, Chef Boy, that's singing that song that's going viral, Gang Gang. I'll be outside with my gang gang. He used to cut me and my son's hair before he became a rap artist.
I love it. Very cool. Look, this is where you get that engagement. And, you know, when we got our groups going on, we're getting hooked and we're getting this conversation going on. Right on.
Okay.
All right, turn your cameras off. Let's keep going. Okay. Turn your cameras on if you've ever flew in an airplane. Okay. All right, turn your cameras off again. Turn your camera on if you've ever slept in a cemetery. Mike? Yeah? Me too. I did. Okay. I knew I really think, okay, just one. All right. Turn your cameras on. One more, Carlos? Are we
Yeah,
good?
last one. One last one.
Okay. Turn our cameras off. Turn your camera on if you could do a cartwheel. We gotta have some guys in here. Yes, Carlos. I was gonna say the
Might
splits,
end up in the ER, but I could try. I could try.
Right here.
Not anymore. Someone in the chat put Adriana, not anymore.
Not anymore.
I could push a cart on wheels.
I love it. All right. Thank
Gotcha.
you, everyone. That was fun. So there's just a little idea. You could get
Yes.
creative, you know? Thank you, Carlos. That was fun.
Of course. No, thank you, Renee. Yeah. And so this is one example. Remember, towards the end of class, you're each going to facilitate, every single one of you, a group. So this is one activity that you can choose, right? Turn your cameras on and off. And so we're just modeling and practicing together. And I love the way that Renee gets creative, right? I would have never thought about spending the night at the cemetery. I've thought about it, and I think it's cool, right? But so you get to know people in a certain way. All right. So let's keep this going. Thank you for that, Renee. So as we kind of progress through the structure and content, it's important to know that there are signs, clear signs of effective group processing. And what we mean by that is working through conflicts together. Stuff is going to happen, right, in real time. We're human beings. We deal with it in a respectful way. Hence the communication. We've said that from day one. Communicate with us, with each other, especially. I love I love in the chat when you all say like, "Hey, potty break." It brings a smile to my face. People. I'm getting older, so it's usually BRB, be right back. When they're like, "Hey, potty break," or
It's so respectful.
it's so respectful, or like, "Hey, I'm taking a bite of my food. My camera's off, but I'm listening," and I'm like, "Cool." Right? There's communication, and you notice we'll give a thumbs up or a heart. We're not going to stop anything because, like Renee said, it's respectful. And everyone, groups member, we all have our values. We have our intrinsic values and the values that we bring. Think about welcoming and belonging and the gifts, right, that we bring to class each day. This is where it comes in a group as well. And most importantly, going back to a road to recovery, having a meaningful role in collaboration, right? Sometimes it can be challenging. Sometimes it could seem easier to have, and I'm using my air quotes here on purpose, control of the group to get things done. But in reality, when you're trying to control people and things, usually that leads to a lot of like chaos and disaster because people aren't involved in there. And so the more you're able to make it a collaborative process, the more effective it will be. Just wanted to say, okay, cool. So along with group processing, well, hey, let's talk about what makes an effective group. May someone please unmute themselves and read the information on the left, please? And thank you.
I'll go. Okay. What makes a group effective? All group members work toward the same purpose. Everyone feels and takes responsibility for the group's success. The group sees a relationship between their work and rewards. The group follows the guidelines set by themselves.
Boom. Thank you so much for that, Desiree. And so when you practice, and for those of you that have had a lot of practice with effective groups, this is something to keep in mind, right? How effective is all of this? Are we really working together, right? Are we focused? Are we meeting the goals that we're trying to accomplish? Is there a set structure? What are your gathering guidelines or your platinum rules or your basic principles? Is there support in the context, right? Someone could come up and something happens in the middle of group. This happens all the time in the middle of class too, in CAPS, right? Anything between life and death and everything in between happens all the time. You know, for example, when I was in your shoes, May 2024, my adoptive grandmother passed away, right? And so Renee was my instructor at that time, so was Mary, and they helped me work through that, right? And I brought it to the table. I felt safe and I trusted everyone enough to bring it. And so they supported me through it. We found a way to keep going, right? Coaching and supporting and guiding. And then, like someone said, ultimately, what's a group for? It's a shared commonality, right? We're trying to together work through a common goal. Okay. Everyone good so far? Cynthia, Yanni, Mike, we're good? Okay, I just see you. That's why if I call your names, because you're the ones that I see. All right. So before we go on to this next stop or this next part, let's practice a different one. And I'll read just the instructions and then we'll actually practice this together. And I'll explain what I'm going to call it in a moment. So an activity could be turning on and off a camera, getting people to just connect on a visual level, right? It could be another one could be a kinesthetic and reflective. So something that you can do in a group, it's very common, are writing prompts. And this is where the facilitator of this activity ensures that each participant either has a pencil or paper or a notepad. So as I'm talking, make sure you have something to write with, right? I have my notepad and I'll be here as well. Feel free to just use a digital doc. If blood is acceptable too. Just kidding, making sure you're awake. Thank you for that, Desiree. And so that they have something to take notes on, it's crucial for your engagement. Once you confirm that everyone is prepared, and I will in a moment once I'm done reading the instructions, select one of the prompts below and give members some time to write about the chosen topic. Remember to leave space at the end of the exercise for participants to share their writings with the group if they choose to do so. Okay, so here is going to be your prompt. Okay. Time capsule. Okay, so you're going to have a time capsule. So you have 10 items that you can put in your time capsule, right? That your older self will open in 5 years. Which items do you put in your time capsule and why? And as you're being reflective, I'm also going to type this question into the chat so I can stop sharing a moment. And so, but you have 10 items and you can start writing because everyone. So,
Do we write out the whole thing or just the question?
Oh, you write your response. You write your response. You can write the question if you like. Is that what you're asking, Yanni? Yeah, okay. I'm just going to make it easier for you because I'll stop share. Okay. Okay, so the question is also in the chat. Now I'm gonna stop share. I'll be quiet for a couple minutes, let you all write. Remember, we're just practicing. We're not gonna go through the whole time. And just take a couple more minutes to write, and then we'll come back. Take one more minute, please. Take your last few seconds, please. That'd be great. Such a beautiful sound. All right. Would anyone like to share what you would put into your time capsule? Why? All right, Martin. Put 3 minutes on the clock overall. Go ahead, Martin. You start it off. Let's see how many responses we can get in 3 minutes.
Okay, I put a, silver dollar because I have a sentimental attachments to a silver dollar. Red
Nice.
Vine's my favorite candy. A Bible, my current address, a watch because watch is my favorite jewelry. A picture of my car because hopefully I'll have a newer car by the time. This year's Watchtower, which has something to do with my religion. A picture of me, so hopefully it'll look like I improved or something. I don't know. A list of goals and my credit score.
That is a well balanced response there. Thank you, Marlon. I appreciate that. Anybody else like to share?
I'll go.
Thank you, Desiree, and then Mike. Go ahead.
Okay, I put a cell phone, and the reason is because I know they're gonna upgrade in 5 years. And then to write down my goals, my 5-year-old, my 5-year goals, a journal, cash money, because it's probably gonna be obsolete by then, my address book, photos, and a Bible. And that's all I could come up with 7.
Wow, that's good. That's a good 7. Thank you for that, Desiree.
Mhm.
Mike, you're up next. What did you put down?
First off, my skateboard, because that's like my favorite thing. Okay, and then pen and paper, I guess, just so I have something to write on, and my glasses so I can actually read whatever I write on, and also sunglasses, because you never have enough sunglasses, I tell you, especially in San Diego. Water bottle, picture of my daughter, because she's my heart, and money, of course, that's a good one, money. Definitely have to bring some money, and then a pack to carry it all in, and a pocket knife, just in case anything goes south, you know.
Just in case, definitely. Thank you for that, Mike. Would anybody else like to share what they put on their list?
Um, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
Oh, I put a letter to my future self to remind myself of hopes and dreams, a photo album to relive important memories, a personal goals list to track accomplishments, a Bible, a picture of my family, and a picture of me when I was in addiction to see how far I came.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Especially that last one. Excellent. Okay. So one of the things that we got to see now, a couple of things. One, you may have noticed that I used a timer this time, right? And so different ways of keeping time. I get, okay, I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes, right? And then sometimes when you're limited on time, right, you're like, hey, whoever we can get in within this amount of time, so everybody knows, right? We're not trying to cut people off. But how cool was it that to hear from your peers, from each other, and to see the difference, right, in terms of what we put in there. And so time capsules, this is another example, right? A writing prompt. And sometimes, when we ask a question, and I know for time's sakes, like I'll put a focus question in the chat, but some questions require a little more processing time, right? And thinking. And so this is where the writing helps as well with there. And then obviously the sharing in there. So how was that for you? A little bit of writing, a little bit of thinking. Good so far? All right. We're going to keep this going, and then we'll get to your first break in a moment. All right. Thank you for your participations for everyone who shares, by the way. It's very helpful. Right. So we talked about collaboration. All right. Now, this is where it starts to get a little bit real. And what I mean by that is that, for example, right, you come into CAPS, first couple of days, everyone's like, yeah, and like kumbaya, let's say, we're all excited. And then we start to get into some challenging topics, right? Well, on Monday, you'll, well, not on Monday, but you'll meet with guidance about co-occurring disorders and kind of, other topics. And we may have, some type of experiences, or we may feel a certain type of way. So in each group, there is a development, and the research is always important. I always tell everyone, do your homework, right? We do a lot of homework as well, but research is out there. Get the information and facts. And the idea here is that these are the basic stages that any group will follow, including ours currently, right? And so the first stage is what we call forming, right? When the group is coming together and is just really getting to know each other, like who is Cynthia, who's Yanin, who is Sion, right? Like who are they about? Where do they come from? How do their personalities? And so it's an introduction in that sense. After a group has had an opportunity to get to know each other, this is where the storms, and I mentioned the weather earlier, right? Sometimes there can be, not always, but there can be some chaos in terms of a struggle for leadership or experimenting with the process, right? Like, hey, are they really going to hold us accountable for being respectful, for being on time, or participating, right? Or is it something that is not going to happen? Is there someone who really wants to be the leader of the group because that's part of their persona, or there are multiple people who, or maybe no one does? And so as you start to storm through and figure out where people fit, right, within this group, because we do want to make sure that you're not only welcome, but you also belong, then we start to get to know each other, start to get to know Mike a little bit better, and then normalization starts, right? There's agreement. Like we start to figure out how people communicate, how people function a little bit better, that some people are sick right now and they may not be feeling their best, but they are trying their best, right? And I respect that, and we acknowledge that. After the norming process, and we kind of get normalized in that sense, now we start to perform, right? This is where we start to embody, right, what we're about. Not just talking about the gathering guidelines or the content or the mission, but we're actually practicing it every single day. It's becoming effective, it's fluid, and we're actually ready to rock and roll, right? Because we've normalized the agreement of how we're going to do it, and then we're going to perform it, right? We're going to actually put it into practice, which is what we start from day one in CAPS. And the last part, which is the most challenging part, is that there's a beginning, there is an end, right? And I'm going to say this and I'll repeat it. I know Renee knows, CAPS is one of those things where time bends a little, right? The training used to be 4 weeks when I took it. Now it's down to 3. But if you think about it technically, it's only 12 days. And so in 12 days, we're going to go through all of these stages, right? And something that does happen, and I just want to acknowledge it because I did speak to a student earlier this week on the phone about it, that we do our best to create this learning sanctuary. And then once it's done, right, there's a little bit of a drop off, right? Because we end up being like, we shared so much, right? And so when you have groups, and especially if there are important topics that happen, it's really important to follow up with people as well, right? And we have our alumni panel. This is why your student supporters are available, and it's just part of the human experience. Okay. Any questions or comments on the stages of group development? Boom, boom. Okay.
Yeah, I would say journey's pretty tough.
You concur,
Just
Trent?
yeah, just in general, whether it's like a one-on-one therapist, an IOP, group therapy, whether it's Zoom in person, uh,
Yeah,
just at a professional level.
agreed. Agreed. And even on a personal level, right? I had a therapist, just to kind of give you an example, my first male therapist in over 15 years that I finally connected with. And there was something that happened with my insurance, and I was trying to get it resolved, and he ghosted me. And I was like, I didn't realize how heartbroken I was, right? And no, and I don't know the situation, and I understand there's so much in there, right? But how you exit and how you end is really important, right? In there as well, right? Because sometimes stuff happens, and to Trent's point, it can be painful, right? And it can be impactful as well. Okay. Thank you for that, Trent, as well. This is why, as we think about our groups and our peers and the people we work with, the essentials are the most important thing. If you do not feel safe, if you do not feel trusted, you do not feel respected, do not feel cared for, acknowledged, then your contributions will be limited by that. So creating and maintaining a safe space is very, very important. And so how each of us chooses to show up is really important for the conversation. And there will be times, and I've done it before, where I'm like, I will recuse myself and be like, you know what, at this moment, I need to be an active listener, and allow other people to do so because I'm not in the state of mind to really just, express. And that's okay, right? And there are other times when I will need to share more. But safe spaces are consistently being described by people. They can be quiet at times, right? And silence is something that we do struggle in this world if you think about it. I was just waiting to see if you acknowledge the silence. That's all, right? So, yeah. So, case in point, right? Everyone's like, "Hold on, why you get quiet?" Right? There's so much noise in our world, right? Privacy is really important. Confidentiality. There's a reason why this group is private, right? This is the reason why our recordings are not listed, even though they're on YouTube, right? You have access to them. Um, Comfort, warmth, relaxation, right? Feeling like, oh, okay, cool. I'm here. I belong. We're gonna work through this together, but in a human and well-balanced way. Looking at kind of what every single person brings, your own beauty, your own gift, right? The emotions come and go. And then obviously this is a virtual space, but we all know that now, even in a virtual space, we can connect, right? And that's something to be said about our humanity and the energy that we all share together. Okay. So ultimately, when we're trying to create a safe space, it's really important that we honor it, not just by our words, but also by our actions. And just to kind of, without breaking confidentiality, there have been times when we've had to ask students to be removed from CAPS because it was becoming unsafe, right? Something happened in the main room, something happened in a breakout room, and it was important for our team to do the research, do homework, meet, get information, and make a decision for the sanctity of our learning environment. Okay? Any questions about creating or maintaining a safe space? The importance, I think, is self-explanatory there, right? Okay. Why
I
don't we
just
do
wanted to,
this?
Carlos,
Go
do you
ahead,
mind
Renee.
if I jump in really quick? I
Please
know
do.
we were
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about adjourning when we're ending a group, but I also wanted to throw in here when you're working with someone and you're going to be moving on or they're going to be moving on. I know for myself, I gave them the 3 weeks notice because we built such a freaking rapport. And some people would just be out in a week and not say goodbye. And they were so affected. And I remember just wanting to give them at least 3 weeks, reminding them, hey, I'm leaving. And it was really sad because a lot of them would be like, what did I do wrong? What did I do? And really, so I had to like just be mindful too, just talking about it and being open about it. Who was it? Trust is key, right? Trust is key. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there because that is an experience too. Like if we're abrupt, like you said, Carlos, with a therapist like that, it's devastating. So anyway, just thought I'd put my 2 cents
No,
there.
that's important too. And thank you, Renee. Right. Depending and most of you are working in the field already, if with members, right? If you are going to have a warm handoff, right? Communicate that as well. Or if there is going to be a change, giving them time does help, right? Because like you're all saying in the chat, Mike and Matt, trust is key, right? And when we put all that trust in that person, all of a sudden that person is just removed, it can definitely have a chain reaction in a negative way, right, Tina? And so that's really important for us to honor as well. So thank you for that, Renee, because it's important. It comes back to human connection. On that note, let's take our first break here. It's 9:50. Let's come back at 10. All right. So far we went through turn your cameras on, off, right? So one way of interacting with group members. Then we had a little bit of a writing prompt, right? And so I would like to share with you another one, which we do a lot about, and we're actually going to practice once again together. So the third possibility, by the way, this isn't an exhaustive list of activities. These are just ones that we provide for you, is discussion, right? Where we listen and speak. And so our topic for our discussion today is going to be on healthy relationships, right? And facilitators will lead a conversation. So myself and Renee, as she wants to chime in, with group members about healthy relationships. Okay, so in the chat, I put in the question. Okay, and once again, to give people autonomy, right? You can take some time right now to think about how you would define that, and I'm actually going to put some time on the clock. We're only going to spend at most, because I have a feeling this would go for a long time, at most 5 minutes talking about healthy relationships. If you are ready and willing to unmute yourself and start the conversation, feel free to do so. Okay.
For me, respect.
Say that one more time. Say that again one more
Respect.
time. Respect. So Young says respect. Definitely.
Communication and compromise.
Communication and compromise. Thank you, Michael. In the chat, Adriana says trust, understanding, communication. Victoria stated something that is reciprocal. That's a key word. Sarah, healthy boundaries. Yeah, mutual respect, a lot of mutuality. Nice. Transparency, honesty. Thank you for that, Jason. Desiree says respect, loyalty, communication.
Openness.
Openness. Thank you for that, Tina. Yeah. When both people make changes and sacrifices to stay at that 50-50, that's shared. Sarah says accountability. Cynthia, respect and trust.
A healthy relationships brings more peace than stress, and both people become better and not smaller, I believe.
Great. Increasing peace, not stress, and you actually help each other grow, right? Instead of trying to keep each other small. Thank you for that, Carter. Realistic expectations, acceptance, Carlos, right? Mike says trust. Now, what's really interesting about all of this is that what you're all saying is money, right? This rings true. So I'm going to add a little bit to add a wrench here. So what keeps people from actually trying to have healthy relationships? So we know what it are, right? Every single person here. What could potentially limit the ability of having a healthy relationship? Insecurities. Someone's laughing at sharing finances. Insecurities, definitely.
Jealousy.
Ooh, you said jealousy, definitely. And
I
that
would
rhymes
say
with
not
this.
being open-minded,
Not being
seeing the
open-minded.
other person's point of view. Sometimes, you can be speaking to someone and they're just, again, not active listening or having the capability to really sit back and think, where is this coming from? And, what am I doing to contribute to why this person feels the way that they feel?
So being very reflective in terms of their actions or lack thereof and how that plays out as well. Yeah. Carter, go ahead.
Unresolved traumas.
Truth, right? Things that we need to process that we don't even know that are out there, right? Fear, finances is a real one, right? Desiree, boom. I think you were just saying, yeah, boom, right? Gotcha. Okay, cool. Sion's saying narcissistic behavior, right? Or any type of controlling, right? Past luggage, trauma, all of that as well. Definitely. So notice how it's really interesting that we can definitely identify, right? Something as, we can say basic as a healthy relationship. And in theory, it's one thing, right? But in practice is another, right? And then in any relationship, you all have nailed it, right? It's really being able to work with each other, to be vulnerable, like Adriana is saying, right? And avoid the selfishness, the self-centeredness. And we live in a world that really does promote that, right? It's like about me, right? If you notice a child, one of their first few words or their first word is mine to their things, mine, meal in Spanish, mine, right? And it becomes about control and belonging. And two, Tinder, yeah, I won't go into that, but yeah, people pleasing, definitely, right? Not honoring relationships, which is could be cheating, all that kind of stuff. Past relationships and bringing it in, and so on and so forth, right? Excellent. I think Carter, you still had your hand up from before, right? Just wanted to confirm. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. So once again, notice that a question can create a whole conversation, right? And correct, Carter, lack of boundaries. And then you could also follow up, right? And I was curious to kind of see where we're at with that. And so thank you for participating in that. Discussion is one of those things that I know is a little bit more challenging now because of technology, but it's definitely at the heart of heart in terms of how our humanity works. So that was the third example or third activity that you could potentially use when you're going to be facilitating your own groups. So let's keep this going. We have a few more slides and then we're going to get to your actual activity. All right. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Okay. And what I mean by that is everything that we all stated about healthy relationships and what can limit healthy relationships really comes down to individual personalities and how people process information and situations. In any group, you will have a silent participant. And by no means, way, or shape, because someone is silent, does that mean that they're not paying attention or that they do not care, right? And so keep that in mind that just silence, we have an issue in our world with silence. And I was pausing for dramatic effect. And so that's the idea. Yeah, I'm full of these jokes, y'all. Come on. I'm working to be a ninja. I need to make some side money. All right. So the silent participant has a reason. And then it helps to ask, right? Like it asks like Desiree, like, hey, like I've noticed you've been quiet in group the last couple of times. There's something going on. And then checking in and kind of seeing where that's at, right? Now, the opposite of that is someone who likes to monopolize. And this is the person that would have a comment for every single question or like to be like, oh yeah, what so-and-so said, let me add to this, let me add to that. And they have something to share, but they're taking in all the air and no one else can breathe, right? And no one else can actually participate. And so it's important to kind of honor that as well and to remind that person to be an active listener because that is equally, if not more important. The third one, we've all been there. Raise your hand if you've ever been in a training, and I hope it's not today, and you've been bored out of your mind and you're like, please just have the Wi-Fi go out or, the power or anything. Okay. Hopefully it's not today, Renee, but they've all been there. I've been there too. So I'll be honest with you, right? And so the board, that is something that is really important to know, right? And once again, the question is why, right? And, I've taught, once again, elementary, middle, and high school and adults as well. My rule of thumb with people is if you're bored, why? Why are you being bored, right? Because I'm not here to entertain you. I can be entertaining and I like you all a lot, and that's why I haven't started singing, right? But I'm not here to entertain you, right? In there. And so sometimes there's a confusion, right? That if I'm not entertained, that then I'm bored. Or once again, there could be a deeper meaning, right? There could be something about processing information. Maybe it's harder for them to feel connected because they get lost in the language, in the verbiage. Or there's simply don't really want to be there. And Renee, I was waiting for you. Go ahead.
Or let's just say Carlos talked about psych rehab yesterday, right? And we want to get, our goal is to get people back into the community, right? Giving them some time on the playing field. Shit, I just lost my thought. Giving them time in there. Okay, hold on. I had something good there.
I'll give you a second. No worries. So we're talking about getting people in the field. I'll let Renee kind of work on that one. I'll go to a couple other ones and come back. No worries. It's all right. And by the way, we are recording this, Renee. So just kidding. It's all right. The help rejecting complainers. So this is the person
okay. I remember now.
Go ahead.
So we're trying to get someone back into the field, right? Let's say they have social isolation. Okay. And we need to get this person back out into the community. Okay. So someone I'm dealing with, he's got social isolation. He's, just stays home and drinks all day, his Hurricanes, his malt liquor. Everyone in Long Beach likes their Hurricanes. I don't know. But so that's all he would do. But he wanted to socialize. Our goal was to increase socialization. So the wellness center, and Helen may have spoke about it working at the wellness center, they'd had a lot of groups and they had a cooking class. Well, Buddy would always be talking about how back in the day he had his own barbecue, restaurant, and he could cook this and cook that. And I thought, hey, there's a cooking class, right? Right? I don't want to go, right? So we go. I go with him. And he's sitting in the back with his arms crossed, just criticizing everything that they're doing wrong and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? He wanted to go back the next week if I went with them. Right. So it took about 5 times where he was that silent one, or he was being like rude and making comments, to the next thing you know, the facilitator was like, hey, do you want to facilitate a group and tell us what you would like to make with everyone? So it took a while, but he did get involved, but he was being so grumpy and grouchy about it. And a double winner on that, Carlos, is trying to get him out in the community. Well, I was a double winner because right next door to the wellness center was a friend's church. And on Wednesdays, they would pay everybody $10 to come to service. So not only did he get to go to the wellness center and have cooking class and engage, he got to go get $10 and go to church and engage some more. So there you go. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for being so patient with my...
Of course, of course. And by the way, talking about adjustment, okay, like with Renee, I hope it's okay, Renee, like, right? Renee's like, oh, I got something. Oh, I forgot, right? Could I gotten upset? Sure. Was that going to help anything? No, right? And if you're looking for like some critical thinking reading, there's an educational philosopher passed away a long time ago from Brazil, Paulo Freire. He wrote The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. I'll say that 2 more times because Paulo Freire, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Paulo Freire, Pedagogy of the Oppressed. It's a hard read. It changed my way of thinking about how we help people, especially those in need, right? And so in these moments, he has this term called conscientization, or in Portuguese, conscientização, which is basically social justice in action, right? So when you are about social justice, you want to honor it, and especially in the classroom, right? So thank you, Renee, for helping me connect that as well. So sometimes you're going to have the help rejecting complainer, like Renee was talking about, someone who wants help, but is going to complain about it. And it's going to go on and on and on. But over time and patience, right, and working with, right, there will be a turnaround at some point, right? The narcissistic participant. Can anyone, in their own words, how would you describe someone who has a narcissistic personality? You can either unmute yourself or you can put in the chat. Go ahead, Desiree. Desiree's like, I got 10. Go ahead. And then I'll go to you, Sarah.
It's everybody else's fault but mine.
Everybody else's fault but mine. That's an example. Sarah, thank you for that.
Carlos.
Give me 1 second, Carter.
Actually, I wanted you to put the name of that book in the chat, please.
Oh, yeah, I will definitely do that. All right,
Thank
Carter,
you.
go ahead.
2 + 2 is 6, right? 2 + 2 is 6.
I'm typing and I'm like, hold on, where are we going? 2 + 2.
That's gaslighting or what? Is that
right?
This is really hard to do when I'm typing, but I'm gonna say no, but I get where you're going with that. Gotcha. So why did you say that, Carter? As you're taking a sip.
Because I feel like that goes along the lines with someone that is being narcissist. Like,
So
trying to get you, gaslighting, trying to get you to, go with them because everything is about them. And it's very self-centered, I would say.
Yep, definitely. And then Sarah, I put the name of the book in there. Hopefully you saw it as well. Yes, right. So they just go hand in hand. And, in these times, words can get thrown around. Once again, it's important to note that, we have certain personalities, but for someone to be a narcissistic personality, it's very specific in terms of how they approach things, right? How they communicate and their goals. Yeah, Sion.
They usually exploit others for their personal gain.
Yeah, that's a big one too, right? And so once again, we talk about, you all said healthy relationships are about mutuality, right? It's an almond there. And so to Sion's point, right, there's a lot of controlling, right, to kind of do my bidding if that was the case. And this is really important to note because this kind of personality can really destroy a group if it's not addressed, right? And sometimes we may think as facilitators, yes, Matt, grandiosity too, right? Like I am the shit, right? I am this and that. And sometimes we may think, by being quiet and just letting it go, it'll go away. Not with that kind of personality trait as well. And then the last one, the mandated participant. I have to be here because my PO is sending me here, or I'm court ordered, or my spouse is making me, or whatever it is. So whenever we're all grown adults. I've yet to meet anyone who enjoys being told what to do, especially as we get older, right? Unless it has a meaning and a purpose. So that is someone that can be also, seem like a board participant as well because they have to be there, right? Versus choosing to be there and wanting to be there. Thank you for that, Mike, as well. Yep, there is room. Any questions about the different types of participants that you may have already had, or you may have in your groups, or if you would like to add one that's maybe not here? Let's see. So sure. The Joker. Thank you for that, Sarah. Yeah. I had forgotten about it. Yeah, Mike's echoing too. Yeah, right. So someone who's always like, "Oh, this is so funny," right? And there are times when humor can be healthy as long as it's not at the cost of someone else in the group, right? And so that's important. Sometimes humor can be a defense mechanism. It could also be a trauma response. So getting to the root of that, of how we get to that, and honoring, making sure that in your golden or gathering guidelines or platinum rules that is addressed as well. All right. So as we kind of think about dealing with different people and challenges, right? It's important to know this idea. Has anyone heard the iceberg metaphor, right? This idea that, right, we only get to see a small fraction of what people who really are, and most of it is underneath, right? And so that reigns true for us because the idea is that we only get to meet people as we learn and spend time with them and interact with them. But in terms of each of us as facilitators, right, or each of us working with in the group setting, our first responsibility is to the whole, right? And so my responsibility right now is to all 24 of us. That does not mean that if Dexter has a situation that it won't be addressed, right? But the idea of stopping everything for Dexter and just kind of ending class is a significant move, right? And it sends a message, right? That one person, right, is now going to take over for the whole group. This is something that is really important. Before you respond, woosah it out, right? Renee's good about reminding us of those mindful meditation minutes. Breathe a little bit. Yeah, like sometimes a deep breath helps, right? Sometimes taking multiple deep breaths helps. And this could be something that you could use to start your group, right? Be a cool little exercise to get us going. Along with that, being curious about what is going on. So asking, like, what's up with this? Why is this behavior taking place? Is there more to it? And for first and foremost, if you notice, our gathering guidelines are very thorough on purpose. Because when things come back, and then if we need to meet with a student, then I will be back and be like, hey, this is why we do this. It's stated here, right? It isn't something for show. And it also informs everyone of what the expectations are. You can also use those guidelines for feedback as well, right? For example, sharing the air, right? If someone is trying to dominate the conversation and being an active listener is a good example of that. And most importantly, using your best active listening skills helps a lot so that you don't have to intervene as thoroughly, right? So if I'm not focused, and I know you may not notice it, but like I'm constantly trying to scan to see how people are doing, checking in, right? Versus assuming like everybody good, okay, cool, and just going on, right? That can help alleviate, and it can definitely help to promote the culture, right, and consistency. Yes, Sarah. We're going to get into trauma dumping and all of that as well. We're going to get into self-disclosure and the healthy and professional way to self-disclose, and then versus like, right, because that can be very, very challenging and negative to others as well. Okay, so when we look at this, notice that one of the most challenging reactions that someone can face in a crisis or even just a group in general is aggression or anger, right? And so usually when someone is dealing with a co-occurring disorder, it could be mental behavioral health, addiction, anything, just a situation. If they are aggressive and angry, that literally elevates the temperature for most people, right? We want to avoid that as much as possible. It's not always going to happen, but there's usually a connection that comes with this. And so as we go down this iceberg, right, is there a sense of being overwhelmed, being lonely? Remember, you can be in a group full of people and still feel completely lonely, right? And so that's real talk. And loneliness is an epidemic in our world. We just don't talk about it as much as we can, right? Is there shame? Is there trauma? And did something just happen? Maybe the person is grieving the loss of something or someone and is still trying to process that. Okay. All right. How do these tips sound? That make some sense? Good. Does anybody have any other tip they think that would be important to kind of keep in mind as well?
Well, just check yourself before you wreck yourself. You know what I mean? It lingers off you. You know, you'll drag whatever energy you have, and other people feel that energy too. So just be mindful where you're at.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for that reminder, Renee. So definitely checking ourselves, right? Checking in with ourselves, right, is going to help with this whole process as well. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Usually fear comes. Yeah, thank you, Marlon, for that, right? And sometimes we can see the anger and the aggression, but really there is a lot of fear, right? And in our current state of the world, there are a lot of different types of fears going on. We just don't necessarily express them or discuss them all the time. And fear is real, right? It does impact all of us in our bodies, minds, and as well in our souls. Okay, so now we're going to get into the cool part. So in a moment, Renee, if you can create breakout rooms of 3 or 4 people, that would be great.
Absolutely. You got
all
it.
right. So let me explain what's going to happen, and then I'll definitely give you ample opportunities to ask questions. So you're going to go into your first breakout room to prepare. Every single one of you is going to facilitate your own group. Well, Carlos, like, what group am I going to facilitate? You get to decide. It could be about cartwheels. It could be about drawing. It could be about whatever it is that you care about. But like Renee say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. So if you're choosing a boring topic, that's on you. So we're going to give you a chance to choose whatever topic you want, right? So you're going to have some brainstorming session. You'll have a few of your peers to kind of like, if you need some feedback. And then these are the questions that we want you to focus on, right? What is the need you're trying to fill? Is it a social need, right? Is it a social emotional? Is it more mental behavioral health? Is it more physical, right? Is it relationships? So how is your group going to focus? What do you want the group to look like? How do you want people to participate? Think about your own gathering guidelines. They don't have to be as extensive as ours, obviously. And do you have a group name, right? What would your group be called based on the topic that you're focusing on? Is it a closed or open group? Does someone know the difference between a closed and open group, and wouldn't mind sharing with us? What does that mean? Thank you, Trentford. Yeah. Does anybody know? Open or closed group?
I
Go
think
ahead,
that a closed group is just for the members of that group, and an open group would be other people are invited in.
Bingo. So, for example, this group right now, is this an open or closed group?
Closed.
This is closed, exactly, right? Not just anyone can join, right? But there are support groups, for, trauma survivors or bereavement or grief, where people can come in and join openly. So thank you for that clarification, Eddie, right? So it's important to know, do you want an open or closed group, depending on the topic that you're focusing on? What is the day, the time, the location that this is going to take place? It might take place online, but still, which day of the week, what time? A consistency is really important. And then last but not least, right, what is your foundation? Right? What are your gathering guidelines? What is your platinum rule? Go ahead, Renee.
Advertisement.
Yes.
Oh,
what do you mean by
did
that?
I jump to conclusions or okay, so advertise. So basically, how are you going to put it out there? You're going to make flyers? How are we going to get word out? I tried doing a group. It was like nurse talk, or a straight talk with Nurse Renee. And it was like, I didn't put enough flyers so nobody would show up. So I had to learn the hard way to make it known, put it out there. Oh, thank you. I did.
Exactly. So the next slide, thank you, Renee, is how are you going to outreach? How are you going to communicate this? Some of you already are working in different, centers, and you have certain protocols that you can use. Some of you, this may be new. Please, please, please help each other out, right? Especially for the newbies. Those of you that have more experience, please share facilitating kind of like, what you've learned, but also kind of what you seek to avoid moving forward. Okay. Before we move on, any questions in regards to what you're being asked to do next to prepare your own group? Go ahead.
I have a question.
Give me 1 second, Carter. Let me go to
Okay.
Adriana, and then I got you. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Adriana.
So we're going to do this as a group activity, or within our group, you're doing an individual thing and then elaborating with your group on your own individual thing.
The latter, the second part. So right now you're all going to go into breakout rooms and prepare your own group, right? Because then we're going to come back and then you're going to go into different breakout rooms to actually facilitate your group, right? And depending on time, we'll see how many rounds you can get through this. But yeah, every single one of you is going to practice facilitating your own group. So these questions are for you, and thank you for clarifying that. Adriana, Carter, what's up?
My question just was how long would I have to present?
Oh, how long? 10 minutes.
Great question.
Thank you.
Everyone's going to have 10 minutes. Yep. Your group will be 10 minutes. You figure it out from start to end. That'll give you plenty of time to kind of go through the process. And so once again, right now, Renee, for their first breakout room, let's give them 10 minutes to prepare. And we'll come back and check in. If you all, how does that, is 10 minutes sound enough to prepare, or do you need 15?
So like in each group, I'm sorry, in each group, we're all doing our own individual.
Correct.
Or one group.
So right now you're going to go into breakout rooms just to prepare for your individual group that you're going to lead, right?
Okay.
But you're going to be with other people in case you need to, talk, share ideas. Exactly, right? And so I'm asking, is 10 minutes enough, or 15 minutes would be enough for you to prepare for
15.
that group? You have a 15, I have a 10. Anybody want
Who's that,
12?
Carter?
12, no, I'm going for 13, going for 10. Okay, I'm going to split it. Okay, 10, perfect. All right. Let's start off with 10 minutes. Renee?
One question.
Yes.
Does this need to be like an original idea, or can it be like a caregiver group or a support group
fine. That's fine. Yeah, it can be a caregiver group. Yeah. It can,
okay,
or it can be something
that already exists in the world, right?
You're just making it your own way because you're facilitating that.
Got
so
it.
It'll be the topic could be out there, but it's going to be unique based on your leadership. Excellent. So you have 10 minutes. I'll be going in through groups. And just to clarify, right now, what you're doing right now is preparing for your individual group that you're going to lead. And so Desiree, so just to clarify, right, you're creating your own group, right? And that's it. And you have other people if you need to ask questions in there, right? Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Did you leave the questions up, or how do we see them?
Yep. This is what I'll do. I suggest that they're in the 3-slide handout. But if you want to take a quick picture here, do so, or a screenshot. And just remember the last part that Renee reminded us was, how are you going to promote this or advertisement?
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It was just the next slide, Renee. You're fine.
No, I get it.
All right.
Oh yeah, get creative.
All right.
All right, 10 minutes.
Yep, let's pause. Right, here we go. Okay, so what's going to happen next? This is going to be the first round. So there's going to be triads. There'll be 3 people in teams. There's going to be 30 minutes. So that means that you'll please keep an eye on the timer. It's on the top right or left-hand corner. Share the air. If you don't use all 10 minutes, that's okay, right? Like this isn't like nitpicking the time. It's more about practicing the facilitation. And I would encourage you to also give yourself some time for debrief afterwards. So like if Trent, Adriana, and I are on our team, that after each person goes, we give ourselves a minute and be like, hey, this is what I thought. This is what I really appreciated. Here's a suggestion. Does that make sense? All right. And then we're going to come back and then I'll explain how we're going to differentiate it for the second round. So a little bit of a mix there. All right. So does anyone have any questions, comments, theories, ideologies, poems, phrases? I'm just exaggerating here. All right. All right. All right. That was round 1. So some initial thoughts. Any takeaways from either the topics that you heard or maybe the conversations or something that was done? Thank you, Desiree. You found it great. If anybody else would like to also open the mic a little bit or in the chat before we?
I
Okay, so
enjoyed
good.
this activity.
Okay, thank you, Jasmine. And I really appreciate you powering through, especially since you're not feeling well. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Sion. Okay, you're gonna make a group. Yeah, that's awesome because yeah, we can make groups. And so there are so many, like for example, on Hey Peers. Does anybody know about Hey Peers? They're on there. There's a lot of different, it's a site, all kinds of groups. I know Project Return is heavily invested in that as well. Carlos Vented, who side out, good. All right. The group had a lot. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I learned a lot, and there's a lot of positive input. We did a thing on caregivers, and I kind of shared my experience having to take care of my dad for 8 years.
And that's an important caretaker role. Thank you for sharing that as well. Yeah, that is something that's not discussed enough as well. Definitely. Good. Let's see if we can get a couple more people. So, Trent, you were going to say something. What was I think you got cut off. What was some of the feedback from your team?
They say it was nice, it was creative. They're very, I made it very, very general topic about the topic wood, and my group was called Creative Wood Group. It's open, and so as soon as we started, so how do we use wood every day, and how does it impact to our lives? And we just went from furniture to jewelry chest to values of putting stuff in the jewelry chest to carpentry. We have wood shops back in the day. I don't know about now. We making birdhouses in wood shops. So we went everywhere with the wood. And then before I got the feedback, we got cut off. So I was like, oh,
okay.
Thanks. And so that's why I said thank you to my group for the feedback.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying that, Trent. So as we're talking, some of you may be receiving a private message from Renee. Please read it and then keep that to yourself. So what we're going to do next, actually, we're going to do one more round. And by the way, we are going to get out early. How early, I don't want to say because then it dictates how it goes. But for this next round, a few reminders. One, when it's your turn, so let's say it's Victoria's turn to facilitate, please be in the role of the facilitator. Right. With some of the groups, I did hear people saying, oh, if I was facilitating, I'd do this, right? Actually embody it. So start off, hey, good afternoon or good evening. My name is Victoria. I'm the facilitator. Hope it's okay, Victoria, I'm using your name. And actually going through that whole process, right? To practice that. And so this will be the second and last round that we'll do it. Thanks, Dexter. And then what we'll do is we'll debrief and we'll compare a little bit. Think about what went well, right? Think about what you would change. Okay. And this time you won't necessarily have to take all 10 minutes. Okay. So keep that in mind as well. So if you can get it done in 7 minutes, 8 minutes, and then have time to debrief, more power to you. You will be with different people. Okay. So just keep that in mind as well. Any questions or comments or before we actually go into our second round? And then Renee, do you still need a little more time? Oh yeah, got you. No worries. Okay. Sounds good. And as Renee is doing that, one of the things that I did want to remind you that for today, the only thing at the end.
I have a question. Are we
yes,
sharing?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Vanessa, go ahead. I think that was you, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, are we sharing our groups as a whole, like to the class? Yeah. Sorry. I was going to ask, are we sharing our groups as a whole?
Yeah. When we come back after the second round, then we will share our groups as a whole. We'll discuss them together. That's how we're going to wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you for that, because that's where we're going. Yeah, we're starting small and then now going big. These next breakout rooms will be a little bit bigger. Okay. And so try to do your best to be the fidelity, work through the time that you have, debrief, and then we'll come back together and continue. Go ahead, Martin. What's up?
I'm sorry, I'm still a little confused. Why are we going to different people to talk about the groups that we just did? And what are we talking about? How do you talk with different people about the groups? Shouldn't we go back to the same group?
So let's say my group is about self-care and self-awareness, Martin, right? And I started my group and I'm going through that, right? I'm going to pretend now that I'm starting it with a different set of people, right? Because groups don't last forever, right? Sometimes they last for a month, sometimes they last for a few months, and then they end, right? And then you have a new group of peers that you'd be working with. So right now we're just simulating, Marlon, what it would be like to the starting point of your group with new people. Does that clarify a little bit? Yeah. Okay. That's all we're doing. We're just practicing and getting into it. And I really, really appreciate and love the feedback that you're all giving each other and the ideas. Okay.
We
Sound good,
are a
Renee?
group of mock facilitators.
A group of mock facilitators, exactly what you're doing.
Oh, that's
Exactly.
awesome.
Yeah.
We're
Or
ready to go.
awesome. And then Sarah said it way better than I did. Doing it again. Sounds good. All right, let's pause. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed your last break. If it's hot where you are at, please stay hydrated because the sun is no joke. Okay. So this is what we're going to do next. We're going to debrief. So you did 2 rounds of group facilitation, but I am going to start with the honesty and why I was laughing. And so the first round was intended for you to just, sorry, you took time to prepare for your group that you're going to create, and then you practiced with one group, right? Then we came back, and then you went back to practice with the second group. What I did not tell you, and what I was trying to do with Renee was the following. And if it didn't work, that's because it's on me. And so let me just share with you what I was talking about. We were trying to throw a wrench in the mix. In other words, Renee had sent private messages to some of you asking you to be either the silent participant, either to be the monopolist, the bored participant, help rejecting complainer, narcissistic participant, and a mandated participant. That was supposed to happen. Okay. Raise your hand if you actually did that after you got the message. Okay, Tina, we got one. Renee's laughing. All right. So when I went around the rooms, and this is what we love, Caps, and love all of you, you were all so polite doing your thing. And so it was like, okay, that message did not go through. So we're trying to create some, right, examples of how you would deal with things in real time. And I'll own that because I can do the instructions better next time. So lesson learned. And that's why I was laughing before we went on break. But with that being said, now that we have some time practicing, you've discussed, I heard some very, very supportive and profound conversations in there. What I'm going to ask each of you to do is to share, once again, you started with, if you could create your own group, what would it be? So you'll tell us what that group would be, and then kind of what you would like to share in terms of what you were able to either learn or kind of focus on or take away better from these group facilitation breakout room activities. And so I will always start with, no worries. I will always start with volunteers. So if anyone can start it off by unmuting yourselves and just let us know what was your group, and then
I'll
how did
go
the
first so I can shut up afterwards.
thank you, Jess. And I didn't mean to make you laugh. Go ahead, Jess.
I made myself laugh. All right, so my group name is called Road to Better Days. Excuse me while I cough my lungs out too. It's a mindfulness wellness group for women who suffer with mental health and substance abuse. It'll be an open group, an evening class, about 5:30 p.m. for an hour and a half. It could either be virtually, you can attend virtually or hybrid, with 2 times a week, and then with 1 monthly outdoor activity. The group that allows women to be able to process thoughts and behaviors pertaining to mental health and substance abuse. Guidelines would be must have a diagnosis of mental health or substance abuse disorders, must be respectful, mindful of yourself and others at all times. No interruptions. Should you like to add a thought, raise your hand and keep it brief when called upon. Have a notebook and pen available. Have open mind and willingness to collaborate with other participants. I would use marketing resources like social media and flyers, as well as word of mouth. At the end of my groups, I would hand out resources, providing additional resources, substance abuse groups and mental health information. One thing I learned in my IOP program was about Marijuana Anonymous. Their group names, if you have not looked into it, look at their group names. They are phenomenal. You will sit on there and laugh for like an hour, if not longer. Munchy Mondays, Fantastic Fridays, all different types of things. It was one of the best things that I had to look through, as well as additional community resources. My activity would be a writing prompt, would be list 5 habits, people, or beliefs that are draining your energy and what you can do to conserve your energy in those situations. After creating your list, pinpoint what is in your control and cross out what is not. Over the next week, focus on regaining the energy being drained by those habits, people, and beliefs.
Love it. Well said, Jasmine. Thank you for going first. Please catch your breath.
That was fire.
Some water. That was yeah. I say on
Right,
fire, but
thank
the
you.
kids say fire nowadays, right? Okay, here we go. All right. Renee stays young. Who would like to go next? Um,
I can go
I'll go
next.
next. I can go.
Oh, go ahead,
love
Carlos.
it.
Oh,
Go.
sorry. Okay, so mine was kind of uh personal too. So my group would be called Angry Dads, right? It'll be an open group for new fathers, old fathers, and expectant fathers just to come in and talk about what they're experiencing, what to expect for the new fathers and coping mechanisms, and improve the family life, family dynamics at home. Um, so I would meet on Mondays. I want to get them early during the week before burnout, before the end of the week, and get off of work and say, oh, now I got to go to group. So I'm trying to get a Monday, try to help them out. Our introduction, besides going over the rules and making sure that everybody understands that they're not there to judge, we're there to laugh together, not at someone. Respect everybody's opinions, thoughts, their belief. We're gonna check in with what pissed you off that week. It's gonna be the opposite, and then counter with what went well that week. Try to establish a balance there. So and I know for this particular group, we're gonna allow uh, plenty of advice. People are gonna just chime in whenever they can. We're not gonna shy away from interrupting. Hey, wait a minute, but what? Look, try this. I did this with with during this situation. This helped me in this particular event, and just to throw ideas out there and support one another. It is gonna be we can have confidentiality, so you could disclose whatever you think it's disrupting you at home with your family relationship with your family, your kids, your wife, and whatnot. Um, as far as the outreach, it's going to be the local community, and little by little, if we get more members, we're gonna do a Zoom in case they can't come in personally, physically to a gym or wherever hall we could rent out. We're gonna do it on Zoom and expand from there. And my idea for this came from personal experience, like things that frustrate me, like, and I realized that it felt better just talking to a regular friend on a phone call. Yeah, man, I'm pissed because of this and this and that. And then my buddy will tell me it's not that serious, dude. I'm like, yeah, you're right. All right, cool. But just an outlet for angry dads.
Awesome. An outlet for angry dads. That works out really well. Thank
Yeah.
you, Carlos. All right. So far, Jasmine and Carlos. Who's up? Who wants to go next? I know heard a couple of you on your
I can
scores.
go.
Thanks, Matt. Go ahead.
Okay, so the name of my group is called Boundaries and Blessings, from Burnout to Balance. And it's for alcoholic or addicted caregivers of family members. The purpose is to eliminate the stressors involved with providing daily care for family members and to navigate the changes that occur in the specific interpersonal relationships. So, like a year ago, I left my life in Orange County, moved to Palm Springs to be the caregiver to my two parents. They're 87 and 82. Dad has full blown dementia. Mom has a spinal cord injury, can't walk or stand. And so I've been thrown into the deep end of this thing. And it's just like, it's been the most incredibly challenging thing I've ever done. And I really wish this support group existed, to be honest. We're going to be an open group. We're going to meet once a month. And the main way to promote this is just through going to Facebook pages of other groups that are sort of similar. I've been in a million AA meetings and NA meetings in my lifetime, and I've been at ones in jail before. And I'd call home to my girl, and she would go on and post stuff. And so I'm a big believer in the social media world, and I know that a lot can be achieved there. And the basic foundation for this group is to find shared respect and acknowledgement of the triggers that can tip off compassion fatigue. That's something I just learned about this year. I'd never heard the words compassion fatigue together, but it is a very real thing. And when you're specifically caring for your family member, it changes that relationship so profoundly. And you add the addict behaviors in there, and then all the resentments that have come along the lifetime of that. There's just a crazy amount of stress on on my life right now, and that's what I'm trying to help do with this group is find some people with some similar life experiences.
Well said, Matt, and thank you so much for reminding us of the importance of caregiving and the love as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Matt.
Cool, thank you.
All right, who would like to go next, please?
Hey,
Jazz, go ahead. Jazz, and then Eddie. Go ahead, Jazz.
Oh,
Hi guys, I'm Jasmine. I go by Jazz. This and myself, personal experience as well. So I think my group is going to be something more like to help co-parenting with parents. The name of the group is going to be co-parenting with peace, not perfection. I think I would start with like an icebreaker, throw something out there to get, the little tension out of the room. The group purpose would be to help parents realize that they're not alone, that they can help diminish the stress and the frustration that comes with co-parenting and just the children's schedule. What it would look like, I think all parents coming together to collaborate the child's needs and focus on the child, and that's the importance. It would be an open group. I'm thinking maybe once a week, Wednesday or Thursday after 6. I would provide snacks, some type of drinks for the kiddos, maybe some type of childcare. The guidelines for my group would be listening without interrupting each other, respecting all parent situations, no parent bashing, focusing on the child, maybe like focus conversations on the children. I would provide some type of respect, resources like counseling, and then maybe just kind of help like differentiate a timeline for the parents and what it would look like for the week and help them something along the line with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jazz. I'll have Eddie and then Harper. Go ahead, Eddie.
Okay. The name of my group is called Moving Forward, and it's a group that's dealing with not staying a victim, but not forgetting and being able to move forward. And it will be a closed meeting. It will definitely be held in the evening, and the outreach will be through social media. And this group is based upon personal experience. We carry along a lot of baggage throughout our lives. Woe is me, somebody done me wrong, you wasn't there for me, and all this stuff. And it was come out of me. I dealt with this all my life. With my dad. He wasn't there, and I hated him, and he should have been there. And I never had a dad, and I just carried this hate forever. And when I used to drink, I used to revisit that in my head all the time. It just ate me up. And throughout my 20 years in the Marine Corps, I would put on my papers my dad was dead, or I don't know, or something crazy. But when I got into AA 29 years ago, I was able to let that go and to actually see my part in it. And the only part that I had in it was that I carried this all of my life, and it was paralyzing me mentally. And I was able to call my dad and make amends to him. And I didn't blame him for anything. I just told him I was sorry for if I done anything or said anything. And he said, you know, have you ever thought I just did the best I could? And when he said that, God just took away that hate. And I never hated him from that day on. I didn't get my dad back. We had a few conversations, but I did attend his funeral, which when I was knee deep in my drinking, I told God I would never go to his funeral, but I was there and I was able to say, hey, Dad, I love you. And I really meant it. I never had to revisit that. So this group is about letting go, not forgetting, taking the power out of it. And that's what it was about.
Beautifully said, Eddie. Thank you so much. Harper, you're up.
I just want to say everybody did such a good job with these great ideas. I am very impressed. I think everybody's fantastic ideas. I really enjoyed this exercise. So I would have a positive affirmation empowerment group. The name of it would be Words Have Power. It would be open, but it would be only open for women and children. I would send them in over to Carlos for the Angry Dads group. So, but But yeah, so women and children, I think just with women, and then you could bring your children because we want to, positively role model for our children. So I think having children there is really important, and there's always aspects to get them involved. Also, I would want to start with just a couple deep breaths. Everybody say something that they're grateful for. Set the intention for the group. So it's going to be about taking negative self talk and transforming that into positive self talk, because I believe that our words and our thoughts are so powerful, so powerful, and anything that we speak out loud is really, really powerful. And I think that it really affects us and other people, not just our own lives, but the way we speak to other people. We're really affecting with that energy, and especially our relationships. So I think that we would set an intention maybe for that group to focus on one specific type of like negative self-talk about our relationships, or about self, or about how we feel, or even work, like how we negative thoughts we have about work. I would do a write. It would be a writing assignment. We would all just write down, so we have that specific thought that we're thinking, and then we would write next to it something positive, transform that thought into something positive, and then we would definitely say those out loud. And you take one or two of those and you practice them for the week. I didn't really get around the hypotheticals of like when, where, or what time or whatever. I didn't get around that, but it would be like a weekly thing. And then every group we would check in to be and make sure we set the intention for those specific affirmations that we would work on all week, and see which ones we really liked, which ones we felt empowered by, or whatever. So it would be empowerment. The guidelines would be pretty lax. Because we're there for empowerment. So we would always want to be empowering one another. Compliments are always great. I would like to end the group with a group activity, turning to the person to your left or right, whatever, and say something positive about the person next to you, or anybody in the group, or everybody wants to say something positive about each other. It would be really, open for, the flow of the group. It wouldn't be very restrictive like that. A lot of mindfulness, body language, and then yeah, I would love to that. I would promote my meeting because I go to NA, AA groups. I promote it there. Also live in a sober living community, so I have access to be able to promote my group on social media or whatever. But I would like to keep it small and intimate, so we can really change those negative self talks into positive, and it's really important to me. So
thank you so much, Harper. Real talk. Carter, you're up, and then Jason will follow after Carter. Go ahead.
Hi. So my group would be based around self-care. I actually hold an Instagram for it. It's called Self Care for Us. Um, and basically because many of us are carrying around a lot and don't always have a safe space to pause, and a lot of times to be honest with ourselves. Um, the purpose of the group will be to offer like a supportive and down to earth space where people can show up and kind of like be themselves. Also do check-ins with themselves, and then be amongst people that can kind of like relate based off of their own lived experience and stuff like that, or things that they practice for self-care basically. um and then also too, just to create like I said, like a safe place. My guidelines will be basically like just understanding that everything in the group is confidential. Like we don't go out and like discuss like hard questions or hard subjects with other people that are not involved in the group. My group would be open to any and everybody, and it would be a virtual group. I really believe in empathizing with people and meeting them where they're at. And even like in the community that I work at out here, is sometimes very hard for people to commute to places. And everybody has a phone, right? So it's like get on, join virtually, free will, share the link to your friend, cousin, church, group, community, whatever. But just to create that space where people can come and kind of like be themselves, like, but also share different tools with each other about how we see self care and what self care looks like for us, and then different ways we can practice it. And that's people that have already started their journey with self care, and people that are just embarking, or people that just want to kind of get an idea what it is. But thank you guys. That's it.
Thank you. Thanks so much for that, Carter. Great reminder. Jason, you're up, followed by Vanessa.
All right, guys. My name is Jason, and this is going to be a family therapy group, and it's called We Too Can Survive. And this will be in a setting of a residential, and you will have to get a referral through your counselor and therapist, and through collaboration with involving your family. This is a reunification process. We're trying to bridge the gap of misinformation about the disease, about the dual diagnosis, because like the stigma for me was, why can't you just stop? Like because they didn't know. And so like we'll obviously open the group. It'll be like a 12-step meeting setting. We'll sit in circles. It'll be like this warm, welcoming presence. We'll do a icebreaker, introduce our names, and what's our favorite movie, or what are we grateful for? And like the first part of the group, depending on the topic, because it will be an ongoing week to week thing, it'll be education on a specific topic. So since this is the first group, obviously education on addiction in general, like educate the family, let them know like the whole family suffers in addiction, right? And like there's no right or wrong feelings in this setting. And just go down the basis of different things in addiction. Like addiction is a disease, it's not a decision. We recover over time. It takes time for the brain to heal, all this stuff. And then we would gradually, once the comfort level was there, we would get into different activities. So there was an activity of like factor myths. And so I went down a couple lists of factor myths, like for an example, factor myth, and I had them thumbs up or thumbs down for the factor myth was if they loved us enough, they would stop. That was one of the questions. And like, so it's obviously one of those deep groups. And like we would get into that. And then we gradually went into support versus enabling. And so we can inform the family what that looks like, because in treatment, it's kind of contained, but after treatment, what does the 12-step process look like? What does recovery look like? What is their part in it? Because like a family dynamic will only empower and encourage and prolong the success rate of a recovering addict or alcoholic. And once we went through that, we would discuss like maybe past experiences of their enabling or their boundaries. And through this whole thing, I'm sharing my lived experience of my boundaries with families, and them sliding me plates of food under the garage door cracked like 6 inches because they didn't want me to starve, but they weren't going to give me money. So like, here, you're hungry, here's a plate of food. Like I had to learn the hard way, right? And like we don't want them to have to learn the hard way because we did it. Just believe us when we tell you. You know what I mean? So we would go into break up into groups and have some questionnaires and maybe some like scenario situations on like what ifs and what could be's. And then after that, we would get together and share like we're doing right now. Like, how did you guys feel about it? And there would be assignments. Maybe there would be assignments for family members, practice setting boundaries, and what did that feel like for you? And then we can speak on that next week. And then we would just talk about what we learned in the group, and then we'd close it out.
That's awesome. Beautiful, Jason. Thank you for that. Vanessa, you're up, followed by Dexter.
So I chose a co-parenting group called United for Kids. I believe there is a need for a group like this. There's many mothers and fathers who are either co-parenting, have blended families, or are trying to co-parent, and the other party's making it difficult. And that's when struggling with the other party. My daughter's father, and this group really means a lot. It's basically for bringing families together, bringing blended families together. It's for a group of parents who are co-parenting, and also a group of parents needing help to co-parent or vent frustrations. It's an open group. It's Mondays and Sundays, 5 p.m. on Zoom on Mondays, and Sundays at a private venue. The requirements or the guidelines would be: must have a child involved, must be actively trying to co-parent, respect everyone's situation, listen, don't judge, if let them have their feelings. That's a very important one because there's going to be a lot of parents who are going to be part of this group who are going through hard situations and probably need a supportive group to vent to. So let them have their feelings. Confidentiality and advice is welcome. I believe that's also a big one because, like I said, there's a lot of families who need advice on how to take a further or how to approach a situation, how to approach a co-parent or the other party when it's, you know, a difficult being the other party's making it difficult basically. So advice is always welcome. My marketing strategies would be flyers and social media. And I wanted to add at the end of every class that everybody shares one goal they have to create a healthy co-parenting relationship with the other party, or one goal they have to create a happier, safer place for the child involved. And once a month, bring kids to meet other kids and build a relationship with other kids who are with blended families or co-parenting families. And yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you, Vanessa. All right, Dexter, you're up.
Okay. Excuse me. My group is going to be Live Beyond HIV, Live, Love, and Enjoy. It'll be an educational group. The educational group will be a closed group, but you can bring your significant other, family member, or lover. And we would do affirmations. We'll meet once a week, and it'd be doctor referred. And in the group, we're teaching positivity. We're also doing also strengths and pros and cons of living with the disease. We're also giving a great deal of information for the people and their spouses so they can be educated on the disease. Also, we'll do fun little tasks as well and trips, but more so in the group setting. Yeah, that's what I had.
Thank you so much, Dexter. And for those of you that haven't gone yet, I'm just going to ask you just to give me the title of the group that you created, and if you want to give a few words. So, Desiree, I don't think you went, right?
No.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll be really quick. So my group is on relapse prevention. And it is going to be closed. And pre-incarcerated people, I think I'm going to focus on because it's really quick to go back to what we know when the spiral starts. So I think relapse prevention to build a toolbox, who's our support system, build a support system and engage with one another with an icebreaker of probably 3 things that you feel before you relapse, whether relapse on anger, substance abuse, or any kind of relapse that you got going on in your past.
Perfect. Thank you. And I like that you use relapse as a universal category. Thank you for that. Mike, if you can just give us the title of yours, please, and just a quick synopsis. And then Sion, you'll be after Mike.
All right. Basically, I was kind of like Matt as a caregiver. It's going to be a caregiver group. Name of the group is going to be Taking Care of Old Timers. And basically, I was going to location be at a coffee shop, just a regular place at a Starbucks. It's going to be an open group. Anybody can come. It'll be time will be around like 6:30, 7:30, 2 days out of the week, like a Monday and a Friday. So you get, how the week began and how the week ended, and basically to just share your complaints and share problem solve about how to take care of your dad or take care of your mom, or just because I did that for 8 years, and man, that was pretty brutal. It was the hardest thing I ever did, really.
I believe you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much.
I was raising my kids too at the same time.
Yeah, it's a lot. Sion, you're up, and then followed by Victoria. Go ahead, Sion.
Mine is prayer group. It's group name is Heart in Prayer, and it's United by Faith, Lifted in Prayer. It's to create a safe space, loving spiritual community and for individuals to come and pray, encourage one another, and grow in faith. The group dedicated to live personal needs, family, community. They're united in prayer, grounded in compassion and love, and trust in God. What the group like is welcoming, just free space, share prayer requests, collective prayer, listening, praying, supporting. Um, kind of the end kind of would be the ending that I would want is have everybody participate in prayer, spoken or silent, and then gain confidence by praying individually, collectively, and understand how to carry prayer in a daily life.
Well, thank you for reminding us spirituality there, Sion. All right. Victoria, what about your group?
My group would be called Write It Out, and it would be an activity-based group for youth to be able to engage in creative writing. So every session would it'd probably be like maybe bi-weekly, so we don't overwhelm them in the evenings. And they'd get prompts like, write a poem about a time that you felt really inspired, or, write a poem about something that made you happy this week, something like that that like encourages hope. And then we can all share, they can all connect to each other, form a group. Because, when you're a teenager and you're going through things, it could feel really lonely. You could feel like the only one. So it's going to be cool to like have them all in a room together and be able to relate to each other, find a community. And so that would be something that I feel like would be really helpful for youth.
Definitely. Thank you for that, Victoria. Yanni, what about you? And then followed by Tina, your group.
Mine would be a DV group, DV survivors, domestic violence, and it'll be called A Fresh Start. Pretty much meet once a week on the afternoons, an hour long, and everyone would share a little bit of their experience and what has worked for them to kind of like forgive and find red flags, kind of not fall back in the I'll take them back. I'll go back to the comfort, and then share my experiences and my what helped me get through the problems.
Awesome. Excellent. Tina, and then followed by Cynthia.
So my group would be partially an interactive group. So it would be called Over It. It's basically embracing newness and kind of trying to figure out and navigate waters. It would be open. It would also have a weekday and weekend session. So there would be an evening session on the weekday and a morning session on the weekend. It would be in an open space, and it would also be an open meeting. Basically, personal desire here because dealing with taking or adopting my grandchildren, and there are things that I'm just over. I would, of course, open it with a rose and a thorn. What's your rose? What's your thorn? And then I would also end it kind of with the same way I opened it, except there would be things that you can break, smash, have the little trumpet things where you can yell, scream, whatever you need to do. My grandmother, not my grandmother, I'm sorry, my granddaughter calls it shaking off. So, shake off whatever it is, shake off the anger, shake off the pain, shake off the annoyance, shake off, even if you want to just shake because you're happy, just shake, 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 shake it off. And you would have that place to vent, yell, scream, sometimes with a lot of the things and newness that people are experiencing, they're not able to express. They have to, oh, that's great. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, no, it's not a problem. If you want to say, I'm so fucking tired. Like, just yell it, scream it, get it out, vent it out. Releasing can be power, releasing can be cleansing. So that would be my group.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Shaking it off, Tina. Cynthia, what about
Shaking
you?
it off.
Briefly, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. For mine, it's called Burning Your Shame. So it'd be a close group, and it would just be inviting parents. It could be, DV, parents who, alcohol, drug abuse, that kind of particular group, who are just, carry a lot of shame. And I want to kind of use this group to kind of embrace that shame kind of thing situation. And I was thinking of writing down everything that's like, coming up for them, and then, using that. It can be written like as a letter kind of to themselves, or just, note taking, anything like that, and then burning it up, letting go of all that shame in the past.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that. Letting that go.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. All right. What do you think, Renee? What you've heard so far from all these groups?
Let that shit go. No, I think this is so creative and awesome. Like seriously, that's all I could think of is let that shit go. So creative. DV, I haven't heard that in forever. Like the men's group, this is just the best ever. So creative and man, you're gonna be dangerously good out there. That's what I have to say. One tip though, and I don't know if you mentioned this or maybe I'm jumping the gun, Carlos, but as our role as peers and the role that we do, let's refrain from saying therapy and you know what I mean, our scope of practice. So, but we provide therapeutic activities, right? So just a little mindful there. So, but yeah, freaking fire today. Fire.
Definitely. Scope of practice. Adriana.
I'm not sure if everyone went, but I didn't go, and I didn't want to not be the only one that didn't go. And
No,
everybody was
you're
like,
right.
"Oh,
There's
what
a
the
few
heck?"
more I'm getting to. You were one of them. So go
Okay,
ahead
okay,
quickly.
okay.
Your name, and
Oh,
I'm gonna.
okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't come up with the name for my group, but shout out Matt. He said to do icebreakers, so that's what we're gonna go with. And my group is gonna be focused on the releasing of grief and what the 5 stages of that look like and how it can be different for everyone. And that sometimes they can mask represent each other as well. So by being included in the group, we would do things like icebreakers, activities, writing a poem or a letter to someone that you were unable to say goodbye to physically. Um, my group would be closed only because I think that it would feel more personal if it was, less in numbers rather than a large amount of people. And then I kind of did what Mike did as well. I would do groups Monday through Thursday or Monday and Thursday for a check-in and kind of like a checkout within the week from 5 to 7. And then the guidelines would just be, experience a loss and that there's no timeline of grief. You can feel it at any time. Um, and then just be present, open, respect, be confident, and have confidentiality. So you're not expressing or sharing other people's stories. And something Eddie said as well. So also shout out Eddie to let go, but don't forget. So that would be what my group would be based off of.
Thank you, Adriana. Marlon, you're up next, real quick. Name, and just a quick synopsis, and then we have a couple more, and we'll be done, y'all.
Okay, so my group is called Why Am I Here? I must have been a little confused with the instructions because I thought it was about a group pertaining to this AM cohort as a whole, not an outside group. So, but after listening to everybody, it does fit with everybody's group. It could be like the first day. What you do is it's an introduction and a feelings check-in, and then you answer 2 questions. The questions I had asked our group was like, well, how did you come to the decision of becoming a peer support specialist? And then the second question is this the first step towards a higher goal, or is it where you want to be at present? So if you can alter that as for everybody's groups, um, just like what brought you to this group today, and then you'll, as everybody has a turn to share, everybody will see, oh yeah, that's why I'm here, and then it will just build a camaraderie. I hope I said that word
Yeah,
right.
camaraderie. Correct.
Camaraderie, yeah. So and which this topic did. The group that I was in, we all got to see different aspects of why we are here and where we want to go, and it was a great way to get to know each other. So that's what my group was.
Perfect, Marlon. Michael Zambrano, you're up next. Name and just brief description.
So I would change mine because after discussion, and it would be stepdads, just to vent on things you're going through, how to communicate, how to handle situations, and really to vent.
Well said. Trent, you're up. Then we got one more.
In general, my group was called, Create a Wood Group. So, we had an icebreaker. The icebreaker was, what was your child's celebrity crush? So people answered that. The group was talking about all these objects that we use wood for, whether it was like ships, who built them. We had famous people build lots of things, which include like religious groups or other groups from the past to the present to the future. So it's just, I guess, I'm being proactive in this because like I was very general, and then now I'm just being proactive of learning to the point where it's like, well, how do you go ahead and all these objects, are these your values? What sparked this value? Was it your childhood value? And then how do you apply this value to a gift to your new world of whether it's your family, of the objects that you guys just mentioned. So something general with that. Some barriers I probably will be facing is like maybe some inappropriate jokes here and there. I'm not sure if I heard it in the group, but I was like, what? You know, so and then weapons that could be used as weapons. So that's another thing I have to figure out how to like be appropriate to dialectical to avoid it. So that's my group.
Awesome. Thank you, Trent. Last but not least, Sharnice.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yep,
Okay,
you're good.
awesome. So mine's is gonna be called We. Well, we are. And it's we are, it's me, it's you, it's we. And basically what that is a support group to help build just build up encouragement and empowerment, build each other up. It will be held on Saturday mornings. I said evenings at first, but I think I'm gonna do more mornings because you have to get you together in the morning first before you can get to everybody else, right? So it will be held on every Saturday morning, virtually. And then once out of the month, we'll do a friendly meetup. So an activity that we can do. And what that consists of is just basically learning how to deal with me and taking up self-care and being self-centered for me. And then one week we'll do it's you where, hey, we have me and you, but you matter. And then it's gonna be we where it's hey, it take a village and not for kids, but for everybody to keep going. And so if we build up each other and encourage each other and empower each other, it'll build up more of the we content because it's a lot of people out here that look at people crazy just because they don't like how they look or because they're smiling or I work with the Tate population and we had a youth that came in and told one of our supervisors that he doesn't like that she smiles so much. So you know, the hatred is real. But if we have a group like this, we'll be able to empower each other and hold each other accountable for the things that need to be done, the goals that we want to reach. So we'll be fitted to a support group that supports everybody and all of our needs.
Boom. And that is a beautiful way to end. So thank you all. You took this to heart and to task, and all these groups that were mentioned, like I have goosebumps because they're needed, right? Like I would join some of those groups as well. And
Heck
so,
yeah.
so thank you for being present, listening, the feedback. I know it's a lot when we're listening to multiple people talk, right? Actively. But the presence and the engagement is definitely felt. The only thing that you need to do, and I put in the chat, is a class evaluation today for group facilitation. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure observing, listening, and participating. Renee, if you have any final thoughts before we wrap it up.
I'm just so impressed. I'm so excited. I'd attend these groups too. No, you all were, I mean, this was really good. I'm glad I'm seeing that in the chat too, that everyone's enjoying this. So, no, rocking, totally
Exactly.
rocking.
And on
Yeah.
that note, we are going to end it